Hello, my beautiful people. How are you all doing today? Spring has sprung. Move your clocks forward. Did anybody get caught off guard with the time change? I know I didn't. I was up till like 4 or 5 o'clock this morning. It would have been 5, well, it was 4 o'clock, and then it had already popped forward. And I was looking at my clock going, how did it become 3 o'clock in the morning? I swear it was just 1 o'clock. You see how that works? Daylight savings time, the days are going to be longer. The truth is, it doesn't change a thing. Man-made constructs, as if that's going to change the way we do business. It actually just messes us up biologically. An hour makes a huge difference on your circadian rhythm and your biology, the way that you respond. You know, you jump on a plane, change time zones, go across the country, go across the world. Don't you feel messed up for a couple days? I know I do. A lot of times when I travel to places that are different time zones, what I will do is adjust my sleep schedule prior to going to that location. But in essence, it's the worst thing we've done. One of the many distractions that we have created, us crazy humans, and with all these crazy human tricks that we have created. See, we created everything we're experiencing. And I think the sooner you recognize your personal power, your strength, work on your shadow, confront your inner demons, your shames, any guilt, anything that feels that you feel. How about that? If you can tap into, if you've been following me for a long time, you know most common mantras, repetition coming out of my mouth has been, you gotta feel it to heal it. If you got stuff going on in your life and you're still trying to figure out, why is this happening to me? Gosh, I was one of those. I was like that for a good portion of my life. Why is this happening to me? If you saw my last 2 videos, I shared something I haven't shared I haven't even talked about in a very long time. You know what that's done for me? I'm churning up some old stuff that I didn't even realize was in me. So I'm honoring what's arising and recognizing the blessings. There are blessings in everything that we encounter. You hear the blue jays out back? They're real territorial. I have blue jay nests up in the back tree. The truth is, we all got something to work through. From the time we're born, when we're purest to source, we know. Never discount a child's intuition. You've got to lean into children more. If I had children, and see, this is one of the things, is I still hold on to that. Like, I never let that go. But, you know, we have all these layers, these conditionings, these stories, these beliefs, the environments we're exposed to that put all this heaviness that keep us from seeing through it all. And then we get older and we're wondering, there's a pattern here and something isn't right. And the reality is it's because we lost our connection to source. We lost that purity and innocence because as children we know there's a heart connection. As we become adults and the world gets a hold of us and it says, that's not right. It teaches us how to lie, how to hustle, how to swindle, how to get by, how to get our needs met. Because children, when you're not getting your needs met as a child, you find ways to manipulate. You learn through punishment and reward. Each and every one of us is a victim of this system. If you don't comply, we will punish you. We'll cancel you. But if you go along, there's an incentive. We'll give you a reward. You're seeing this play out quite blatantly right now, especially in this world. Especially in this world. I just watched a TikTok on my other account about how apparently TikTok worked with various agencies and fact checkers to remove misinformation. Listen, I don't have to agree with everybody. I don't have to like everything. But I'm adult enough to make my own decisions. And I certainly don't like when someone is treating me like an immature child who doesn't know any better. That's an insult to my intelligence. And that's taking away my right to choose. So Who's the one at fault here? It's unconstitutional, it's inhumane to impose someone else's ideology upon anybody else. If you think something I'm saying is misinformation or it isn't true or whatever, you have the choice to have a dialogue, a conversation with me like humans do, like adults can do. You know, critical reasoning skills, the ability to communicate, because that's what we're all learning how to do, is better communicate as humans. Or you can walk away. You can choose to be right or choose to be happy. But this culture of, I'm offended, it's like a crybaby mentality. Like, you're not taking personal responsibility for how you feel. Instead, you're dismissing even feeling into it and asking yourself, what is that really about? And the trade-off is you think that you're going to get some instant gratification by getting everything around you to adjust to make you feel better. It's an internal thing nobody can fix on the outside for you. When you feel everybody else around you needs to fix themselves to make you feel better, now you've made it personal. You've made it about you, when in essence, it never has anything to do with anybody. People don't realize that they make things personal that aren't personal. And when you say it's not about you, but you're making an argument about it, you are. That's a huge pill to swallow. To recognize that personal responsibility is what serves us the most, and that's empowering. When you claim your power, you know your truth, anybody can say anything, and it shouldn't offend you, and you shouldn't get upset at it. That's easy to say. But when you get upset at what somebody says, that's a question for you. What is that about? What is it really bringing up in you? What is the old wound that it's rubbing salt in? If it's a word, something triggers you, an old memory pops up and you go through trauma response, that's your opportunity for growth and evolution, to heal whatever that is. Not to lash out and to blame, shame, and point fingers at, because that's what happens. Is we're in a culture right now with a lot of adults running around with unmet childhood needs, traumas that are just come up to surface, and instead of actually sitting with it, leaning into it, breathing into it, asking, what is this trying to teach me about myself? What revelation am I going to learn? How can I, into me I see, gain that clarity of who I am and what is evolving and arising from me? Because I guarantee there's more satisfaction in that than the instant gratification that somebody else has to change for your benefit. That's short-lived. The other's long-term. You have to look at what is the benefit, the long-term goals. See, this is what I talked about the other day. What are your long-term goals? I believe that right now, a lot of lashing out, a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety, a lot of mental illness right now is the inability to seek within what is going on, to feel fully, to really lean into that discomfort. And recognize that maybe you forgot your real purpose in life. You forgot to make goals, to set aspirations, dreams, hopes, wishes. We all have them. But if you don't have an agenda of what you want to do with your life, you don't know what you want, isn't that a big clue right there? Are you happy with what you're doing? Are you living the monotony, the mundane life of going through the motions? This is my routine. I have to get up at this hour. I have my coffee now. I have my breakfast. I do this, and this. And so on. And then it's rinse and repeat the next day. There is a disconnect. If you are just going through motions, but you're not in awareness of your emotions, that's more of a life unlived. It's a much more like robotic. It's more like a zombie, you know? You're not in touch because something is missing, intangible, you can't feel, taste, touch. Again, it's about the senses. What does it taste like? What does it smell like? What does it look like? What does it sound like? Touch it, tactile. Because that is where it's at. If you're not engaged in your senses, because you're a sensitive being, a sentient being, You're here to be in community with humans. Humans and unity equals humanity. We can't have community without unity. We can't have humans and humanity without unity. There's such a big picture here. And the question is, how richly are you living your life? Not everybody knows their purpose, but do you have goals and aspirations? Do you know what you want? Can you own that? Do you recognize where you want something, but you might have this little voice inside your head? It may be the sound of your mother, your father, or some other authoritarian figure, somebody that influenced you so deeply, so strongly, that you're afraid of your success. A lot of times that happens. So if you're out of touch with yourself, it's time to lean in, even into that discomfort. Check out where you're numbing out. Check out what feels like you're missing. What are you missing the most in your life? So many people lashing out are doing it out of an anxiety, something that's stirring up within them. It's not about the people they're lashing out at. They don't know how to emotionally regulate. If you don't know how to regulate your own emotions when something arises, then you are basically a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. And in some cases, some of us, and I've been here on this one, so this is coming from personal experience, something is just festering up to the point where you'll take and use any excuse to explode upon the first person who sets you off. Use them as an excuse for your getting upset, when in reality, you were looking for it, you were anticipating it, and you knew you wanted to unload that. Instead of doing it in a healthy manner, you chose a destructive, self-sabotaging way of letting out your anger. It's not the best way to do it. So, these times are tough. Everybody's being challenged. There isn't a person who isn't touched. But if you're not doing the internal work, you're not willing to look at your own shadow and your shit, then it's going to come back at you. And nobody wants to have their shit flung back in their own face, but essentially a lot of times that's what it takes. And it's not a bad thing if you can recognize it, that it's time for it. Because when stuff comes to surface, it's there for a reason. It is time to confront it. Not to poo-poo or to try to get rid of it, because the more you push things away, the more they come back stronger. You give it more power, the more you resist it, because what you resist will persist and it's stronger back every single time, right? And for myself, the past 2 videos that I did, and if you're not getting my notifications for when I go live, there's probably some algorithm that's causing that. And I'm sorry, I have no control over that. The best I can do is tell you, click follow, click see notifications for when I go live, because that's the only way you're going to see me. And I'm not trying to force anybody to watch me. If you get the message, it's meant for you, or you don't. But at the same time, I'm here for a mission. I'm here to support, uplift, inspire, and empower you. That's always been my whole purpose for showing up. If you've been following me long enough, before when I had my original Facebook account, yeah, it isn't going to change. That's just who I am. That's what I'm here to do. I know my power. I know my strength. I know my truth. And I'm here for you. And the message that I have been receiving all this past week has been about, are you living your life on purpose? Are you living a purpose-driven life? So when I was younger, I always had a list of the things I wanted to accomplish in life. I knew I wanted to get my degree in computer science. I knew I wanted to finish CCAF, which was the Community College of the Air Force Information Technology degree. It was a 2-year degree. I knew I wanted an education. I wanted to travel. I wanted to buy a house. I wanted to own my own house before I turned 25. I think I bought my house a few years prior to that. So I was 23, if I recall, right before I turned 23 or something. I was stationed in Maryland. And then I bought this house as a result of selling that one. So those were goals I had set and I achieved. They were small, they were measurable and attainable. And when you don't have goals or something to reach for, to strive for, to succeed in life with, then yeah, you're probably thinking, my life feels worthless. I have nothing to do. And you know what? Here's where personal responsibility comes in. You only have yourself to give credit or to give a nudge and say, we're not here to blame you, but we do need your attention here. Because it's not a blame-shame game here. I'm never about blaming and shaming. If anything, blaming and shaming is lame, and any excuse is a self-abuse. We can use all sorts of excuses, oh, well, this and that. You know what? Then it's not important enough. If you are making excuses for yourself of why you have or haven't done something, then therein lies the irresponsibility. You're not taking responsibility for your choices, your actions, your decisions, your thoughts. Every one of us, especially as adults, if you have children in the room, you're responsible for the child up to a certain point. But each one of us is an adult. We're no longer that hurt inner child, although that hurt inner child is always with us, wondering when you're going to give it attention. Are you going to take responsibility for yourself throughout all the ages? You know, when I told those stories the other day about what I went through in Italy, I had forgotten the depth of which it actually impacted my life. And you saw me tell the story. And there's more than that. There's so much more. I just gave the abridged, abbreviated version. I've had to sit with that and recognize, oh my gosh, you know, on Friday morning, I literally looked in the mirror like, okay, universe, I could have used this information like 12 years ago. Because I'm sure there's a statute of limitations. So me trying to find and seek justice, then I'm like, it's probably well past it, you know, to point out the companies that defrauded the government and I didn't even know about it until later, or to point out the defamation of character, which is a harder case to win from my understanding, and the fact that as a woman with a medical condition that I was discriminated against. I mean, I got a whole list of like violations here, but is it worth my trouble? Is it worth my time? Or maybe I just write a book and just let them all try to defend themselves on the outtake of that one. Because the truth is I got a lot to share. And I have no problem sharing it. But I realized how hurt I was. And I didn't even fully process it back when it happened. I was pushing through because that's who I was. I was in a different state. I wasn't as healed. Because back in those days, I was seeking justice. I'm a strong-willed woman, so I don't look for reasons or excuses to hide in a corner. In fact, I did seek out. I went to the government, I went to the military, I went to my HR, and I just kept getting doors shut on me. I got a lot of promises, but no delivery. I got a lot of lip service and no action. Program managers claiming they were going to give me jobs elsewhere and they're going to take care of me. But in the end, being blacklisted and ostracized from a community that was all I knew. When you are working in an environment, and I worked my butt off to establish a good reputation, to have a good calling, good following, I was very professional, that hurt. That hit me not only in the gut, in the back, and in the heart, but also in the ego. So I was recovering from a death. It was like killing me. It really was. I did die back then. That was a big part of me died as a result of being fired from a job that I had worked hard to maintain and to keep. In a hostile working environment, not healthy for anybody, that I was with people who were too weak and fearful of losing their own jobs, that they weren't going to speak up for me because they couldn't speak up for themselves. See, now I can recognize that with humility and compassion. But back then I was like, what the hell is wrong with people? I'm sitting here trying to make things better for us all. I was never doing it for just me. It was always about everyone else and myself. Because for every one person that speaks up, there's at least 10 that aren't speaking up. That used to be the standard awareness of customer service. You know, when you call and you complain about a service or a product, or, you know, for example, my internet. You know how many times I've called and they're like, well, you're the only one complaining. I'm like, that doesn't mean anything to me. but that's a dismissive response, very passive aggressive. And they use that to dissuade you, because the average person who doesn't have the courage and feels immediately shut down and like a victim will go away. And that's why they do what they do. It's the same thing with the military, with the VA benefits. I've been fighting to get my full disability with all of my benefits for my compensation and my disabilities since 2006. And I got out in 2003. I was a little late submitting, but they deny you till you die. The anticipation that the veteran will basically die before they ever see their full benefits. Or that I served over 10 years and that during 9/11, there was the post 9/11 GI Bill that was introduced, and you had to serve 2 years from 9/11 on. But because I didn't serve a full 2 years, it was irrelevant that I served an entire 10 years. Like, I was left scratching my head going, okay, so they told me you're only eligible for 60 to 70%, whereas if you had 2 years from 9/11 on, you would have gotten 100%. Meanwhile, I paid for the GI Bill, the Montgomery GI Bill, the original one, and I'm still being shortchanged. See, I just joined some veteran groups to reconnect with some people, and I've been sharing some stories. I shared a written version of my story of what happened in Italy, and the benefit situation too. Like, I had a dialogue with somebody about that. It's like, it doesn't make sense. There's all this money that sits in a pot designated for us, but we never see it. So tell me there's not another form of extortion or laundering going on there. Oh yeah, we've got all this money for the military and the benefits for the veterans, but yet meanwhile, how many of them actually see it? How many of them actually see it? And that we have to fight to get them. And that whenever you submit for anything through claims, they deny you so that hoping that you won't come back. But then you keep coming back and they'll keep denying you. They'll give you a little bit. It's like crumbs. Sound familiar? Well, we'll give you a little to satiate you, to satisfy you, and maybe you'll go away for a little while. It's that bad. This is a toxic relationship we have, people. And it's not just in the military and the veterans. It's just what it is, and it isn't right. So this is where it comes back to, we need to help each other. But first we have to help ourselves. Because if we're not helping ourselves first, we're no good for anybody else. So when you want to help other people out of distraction because you don't want to work on your own shit, which is the majority of us have done that. I've been there and I've done that. If you're not working on your peace and finding your truth within, then that's going to be that much harder trying to help somebody else. And then you get frustrated because you act all self-righteous, like, why aren't they appreciating me for doing all this selfless help and service and etc., etc. Like, we got to look at the balance. There's so much more, but I'm here to ask for your vote. I want you to click on the link. I don't ask for anything. This is my opportunity to use social media to my advantage for a change. Where I usually show up here, because I'm always here to serve, I'm asking you to help serve me. Because if I don't get enough votes, then I don't win. If I don't win, I don't get $10,000 and a spread in Yoga Journal. And that ain't going to happen because I know I got enough of you. I know I do. And I'm hoping that enough of you will see this. I'm hoping that enough of you care enough to simply click the free vote. Because if you're watching on Facebook, that's all you got to do. Daily, every 24 hours through April 29th. With your vote, $10,000 helps me get that Love Shack renovated. It helps me get visibility through Yoga Journal. I've been in the wellness industry and fitness all of my life. All of my life. Yoga changed my world because after I lost my job, I had to work on me. I had to work on healing my mind, body, and soul. I had to reconnect all of this. Weave it back together. Make myself whole again. That's what wellness is about. It's about the whole mind, body, soul connection. You can't just have one without the other. They all intermix and influence one another. And I'm here to do that for others too. I'm here to help serve in a much larger capacity, if possible, with your help. So again, I am yogawarrior.com. Select me, vote for me. If I win, you're a part of my success. Now, what do I need to do to convince you that I need you and that I deserve this? You tell me. Tell me in the comments. Do you think I deserve it? I feel I do. I don't think I need to even really validate myself because I know how much I've been involved in the community. I mean, this is my life. I don't get paid for this. I don't get compensated. Even when I was doing Ridiculously Authentic, I was working my ass off. Do you think I got any money out of that? Actually, no, it cost me a whole lot more. Cost me a lot more. An appendix, to be precise. But that was also part of my learning. That was part of my lesson. When the going gets tough and it isn't cooperative or collaborative, it's time to go. If you are in a toxic relationship, abusive relationship, it is time to go. Don't stay for any reason. If you are not getting what you need, if your needs aren't getting met, and you're just giving, and you're depleted, you've got to take care of you. Only you are responsible for the choices you make, because that's where it gets you to where you're at. So make sure you have goals, ambitions, something. Because if you don't have that, then yeah, you're going to feel like you have nothing to contribute. And when we get ostracized, like I did in my last job, and you lose everything you've ever known, you're essentially told you don't matter anymore because you're the cause of hate and discontent. That's what I was told. I mean, literally pulling the rug out from underneath me and sabotaging the rest of my career and livelihood. I didn't realize how deeply that wound was still in me until the other day. And yesterday, I really just spent time out in the yard doing yard work, planting plants, putting trees in the earth, because I needed to reconnect. And that sometimes is all we need. I'll bring you outside after I'm done with this video, as far as in here. Because to me, everybody has purpose. Everyone has a role. And don't poo-poo on yourself and think you don't, because you do. If you're watching me right now, you do have something of importance to serve the world. And it could be just as simple as you being happy in your life, doing what you do that makes you happy. Even if it's something simple like smiling at customers walking in a door, that's still something that gives purpose to you. And every once in a while, we want to hear that somebody cares or that they recognize us. But if anything, it should be an internal wellspring. You want to know what the fountain of real true youth is? The fountain of youth. It's an internal wellspring. It's an internal coming up within. It's a toroidal energetic. If you want to talk about energy, that's what the fountain of youth is. It's you being in alignment with your heart and your soul and letting it guide. See, the head, the mind, it wants to rule. It thinks it's got your best interest at heart because we've all been conditioned to think about it as opposed to observe, witness, and sense and feel into it. We are sensitive, sentient beings. We are meant to use our spidey senses. Our eyes, our ears, our nose, our mouth, our fingers, our senses of just essence, energy. You can't get rid of that. It's who you are. It's part of your soul. That's your gift. And that's why if you're disconnected from your senses, if you are not fully engaged with you, then you're easier to manipulate. When you don't know your truth, anybody can knock you off your rocker. Anybody can trigger you. Anybody can upset you. Because you don't know you, other people will be able to push your buttons. But when you know you, now you've got power. And power comes from within, not outside of you. And there's a natural, innate movement, energy, flow. Life unfolds. It's beauty, it's wisdom, it's knowing, it's life is. Life is life. Dun 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 dun. Da 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 da. Dun 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 dun. I think I'm super excited because I made cheese last night. See, I lost my mojo with Ridiculously Authentic, and y'all used to see me in the kitchen all the time, making up my wild creations, my recipes that I loved doing beforehand. I was doing this for years. I found this path 10 years ago, over 10 years ago. Raw foods and learning about healthy living, and that when it really boils down to it, there's so much more to returning to the earth and what is naturally growing for us. I mean, it's not us versus them. It's not vegan. It's not vegetarian. It's not the meat eaters. It's you know what? Drop the labels. You got to find your way. When you first find your way, you think, oh, this is the answer for everybody. You get so excited at seeing the results in your own life. You want to spread that around. You want to help and fix the world because it's working for you. Stop it. That was one of my lessons. What works for me won't work for everybody else. I can't assume that. That's making an ass out of you and me. The truth is, I have to find my way. If I inspire someone else to try it and they try it and it works for them, fantastic. My job is done. But I'm not going to tell you what to do, and I'm not going to tell you what you're doing wrong unless you ask me, because here's the thing. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. I am not here to tell you you're doing something right or wrong. When people come to me and they ask me questions, I will a lot of times, if I sense that they're just asking for conversation, because I get that a lot too, I will truly ask, do you truly want me to answer the question? Do you truly want to hear the truth? Because I can see things that most people don't. It's just a gift of mine. And I don't go around saying, look at me, I can see through you and da-da-da. No, you know what? I'm not that person. I don't have time for that. To me, that's so egotistical. And no, sorry. And plus, anyway, so this is coconut. I haven't tried it yet. And it's fermented, not quite 24 hours just yet. Oh my God, it smells so good. I found some cheese in the fridge that I still had from previous batch that I'd made, that was made with, I believe, Brazil nuts. This, oh my God, is so good smelling. It has coconut meat, almond butter, some garlic, kimchi, spices. The garlic, the kimchi has everything in it anyway. But look at how pretty that is. Ooh, it's creamy, it's yummy. Plant-based. And so, of course, it's fermented. Yeah. This is good. Good. Time to put it in the fridge. But when I do the cheeses, and I love making cheeses. Oh, I haven't been doing this for a while, so it's time for me to get back. You know, I'm reclaiming and rejuvenating, and my mojo is back, people. I'm gonna make up some taco meat, because that's what I do. I make up different forms of taco meat. The best nuts for taco meat, walnuts. You can use almonds. You can use Brazil nuts are good too. Pecans. Pecans are really good. You wouldn't think it because pecans have a little sweetness. Walnuts are also really good. These are sun-dried tomatoes, soaking in water. And what I do is I will mince them up. I'll chop them real fine. I'll throw the nuts in the food processor, put in the cumin, because the cumin is what gives it the taco flavor. Whatever you use, it's always about the spices. You know, a lot of people think that they like meat because of the flavor. Unless you're eating it just straight up meat, if you're putting all sorts of flavors and seasonings all over it, you're eating the spices. Come on, let's get realistic. I was the same way. Now, I will tell you this, a good filet mignon, just a little bit of salt, if that. If it's done well, it doesn't need anything. That's how I used to eat it. And yes, I have eaten meat since. So, I haven't eaten yet either, but I haven't exactly been starving. I've just been processing all of this stuff. Like I said, I'm over here going, wow, you know, I had a major life change, and I never really truly sat with that, and I was like, wow, somebody actually reached out to me and sent me a link to some lawyer firm or something. And I don't know if they're even, I'm sure the statute of limitations is over. Mind you, I'll straight up say this. If I were able to pursue a lawsuit and it were to, let's say, reimburse me for all the years I would have been working, I could easily make over $1 million based on my old salary. Maybe a couple million, actually. Just because of how much I was making and how good of a professional I was. But, you know what? It's always their word versus your word and trying to get people proof. Who knows? Anyway, it's not at the top of my list. What I have found is that I've had a lot of strange occurrences over the course of my life, and every single time I have learned that I'm meant to be the better person anyway. How many times have any of you out there realized that somebody would accuse you of something and you'd immediately go on the defense? Because that's an old trauma response. And because of your conditioning and your childhood or your environment, you were taught to defend yourself because you were always being accused. You were always being attacked, right? So we defend when we feel we're on the attack. And as a result of that, you lived a victimhood life, a victimhood mentality. So when we're victims of situations and circumstances at young ages, it carries through to our adulthood. And when you're on the constant defense, guess what? You have the energy that magnetizes attack. This is the truth of it. And I was one of those people. I used to live in the constant fear and constant, what am I going to, have to defend myself. But as I've gotten older, when I look back at all the stuff that went on in Italy, I had to come to terms that all of those experiences, I was in a totally different state. Number one, I didn't even know how to defend myself properly, despite the fact that I was very strong-willed and I did pursue it. The truth is that I didn't know and I didn't have the support. I was in a foreign country and I had 3 layers of bureaucracy to try to go through. And when you're in a victimhood mentality, all you do is draw on that attack. And that was tough. So, I had to go through a death. And all these years, I realized I've been rebirthing myself. I teach rebirthing, I teach breathwork, I teach yoga, I teach all of this stuff. And I didn't even realize to what depth I had been rebirthing, that I had died. A huge chunk of me died when I lost that. Because that was my livelihood. I had built that for myself. Nobody did that for me. I built my career. I created that. But I also apparently drew in what I experienced. And I wasn't aware of the patterns until I started doing all this healing work. If you're unwilling to confront what is really the root cause of your problems and your suffering, then you will continue to repeat and repeat the same thing over and over again. It doesn't make it better or right or worse or anything. It just is. The moment we do, and the moment we choose, see, the universe will conspire to assist us, to aid us in the healing when we are ready. But no sooner and no later. It's up to you to choose. And I chose. Because the moment I realized these patterns were perpetuating, I was like, whoa, I'm done. This is done. I'm stopping this. This legacy, whatever this is, if it's family, lineage, or what have you, it stops with me because I chose it to stop with me. And I did Date with Destiny with Anthony Robbins. I was all over self-help, personal development. I was a book fiend. I was listening to all those Hay House. This was, I don't remember the first Hay House summit, but I tell you what, I was on top of those immediately. I was listening to all those people, Christiane Northrup, and oh my gosh, there's just so many people that I was exposed to as a result of that, And I'm grateful. I'm grateful because on the one hand, I never wanted to leave Italy. If you've been following me, you know I speak Italian. That was my life. That's a whole nother lifestyle for me. This is totally different. Totally different. But what I'm doing now is I'm looking over my life and I'm realizing I never lost certain aspects of myself. What I'm doing is reclaiming the ones that work the best. I am still that spunky, sassy, classy, fiery woman who knows what the hell she wants. That never stopped. But yeah, I felt deflated. I mean, ego-wise, that's a huge blow to your mind when someone tells you you're the cause of hate and discontent, and they take away your livelihood. They defame your character. They blacklist you in a community that's very small, by the way. And then people are telling stories about you they're not even legally supposed to do, but they are. And not just one. There were a couple things. So coming to terms with that has been like, oh, I never did process that. I didn't even realize. And just in the awareness of it, I felt a huge weight lift off of my shoulders. Anybody else out there, can you relate? Like, it's not, this ain't no small potatoes kind of deal. Let's just say that. So I'm in a whole different space, and I am even more fired up and charged for the Yoga Warrior contest, because this is the reason I've been doing what I've been doing all these years. I had to experience what I experienced. Number one, to be able to share, to show people that I'm not breakable, that I'm unstoppable, that I am fearless. And that, I've been faced with adversity straight on in my face, even when I didn't want to have to. And I still had to go through it. And it doesn't make me any less than who I am. It made me stronger, because what doesn't break you, it makes you stronger. And you have to own that, like own your strength. Even if you have a weakness, own that too, because that's a strength if you own your weakness. When you know your shortcomings, your weaknesses, that's actually a superpower. Because when you know it, nobody can use it against you. But there is something to be said about keeping certain things sacred and to yourself. Like, don't go out there saying, I'm going to do da-da-da-da-da around people who are secretly plotting to sabotage you, even through thoughts, like them wishing you not so well. I mean, we've all had that, thinking that somebody really had our best interest at heart, and then they really showed us they didn't. Talk, but the walk. It's more important to believe a person's actions than their words. And if you learn to recognize where a person is versus where you want them to be, to own it, to accept it, and not dismiss it and act like, well, you're making excuses for somebody else, which is not your business, the more power you will bring back to you instead of giving it away. That's an easy one. Giving away your power to somebody who doesn't deserve it. We all have done it. And there's no time for you to turn around and blame or shame yourself about it. Believe their actions. The words are one thing, but believe their actions. Oh, here's what I did. I made 2 kombucha flavors. My infamous vanilla melon. It's honeydew. And this one is goji, pineapple, orange, and lemon flavored. It's very, very good. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bring you outside with me. Because it's so nice out. Yeah, look. And I got the stick. Haven't done this in a while, right? Look how nice it is outside. There's a little bit of a cool breeze, by the way. So I'm going to show you what I've been up to. Yesterday, I came out and I did the yard work a little bit. I had to tidy up. I'm super proud of this, too, because, I always do my own yard work. I don't have a problem with that. I actually enjoy being out in the yard and doing yard work. So the first thing over there, all that mess, I had a huge pile. Basically, somebody got lazy, didn't want to put it in the back. I moved it all the way to the back where I'm going to show you, to my compost pile. But I'm super excited about my first, what are these things called? Turmeric harvesting. So this is the turmeric that I grew. And I cleaned it off. Nice white turmeric. That's a different turmeric. There's different variations of turmeric. And then I have over here, I'm cleaning up. So over here we have pots of tomatoes. There's a beefsteak, a cherry. Let's see what we got over here. Don't know if you ever saw that I did these. I took the slate and I put them down. because I like the way they look. It's not necessarily finished product. We'll see what ends up happening. So I got 2 cherokee purples. This is mint. This one is beefsteak. And I already have, check this out, I'm super excited. This one is the cherry red. Yeah, look, I already have a tomato on there. Isn't that cool? And 2 tomatoes on this cherokee purple. I got all sorts of, look at these. Aren't they beautiful? Succulents. Suck on that, right? This, believe it or not, is lilac bush. That's what that is. And it's kind of been struggling. But look, I've already got a bud on it. I don't know if you can see this. This bud here. This bud's for you, by the way. And then... what else we got out here? We got all sorts of, like my fig tree's finally coming back to life. Got a whole lot of papaya. These are papaya. I've got all sorts of papaya. Some are the orange, I think it's the Jamaican, the red orange, red Caribbean. These, and then this, yeah. This one's been transplanted way too many times, so it's much happier now, finally. You see all those pineapple. Papaya. I've been tongue-tied a lot lately, by the way. Make sure you vote for me. I need your vote daily. Every 24 hours. Every 24 hours, you got to vote for me. It's free until the 29th of April. I'm going to keep saying that. I'm going to keep saying it. This is mint. This is culantro. Does anybody know what culantro is? It tastes so good. I love culantro. There's all sorts of interesting stuff growing in here, but this is all mint. Great way to freshen up your breath naturally. I need another stevia plant. My lemon tree, hopefully this year will do good with lemons. Oh, I don't know what that was. All right. We have marjoram. I have sweet marjoram. This was where the turmeric was growing and I cleaned it out. This one's marjoram, which is in a lot of like the herb de Provence blend. This is another culantro because I like culantro. It has like a spicy flavor. Oh shoot, that wasn't so good. You gotta be careful when you pull things out by the root. I just put it in there. This is another fig tree that I have, and it already had a fig. Look, a little figgy. Here, figgy, 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 figgy. I know, right? This one is oregano. Pinch it off. Rosemary. This will be my first rosemary to be successful. This is tarragon. I've made tarragon cheese before. Yum. All right. Now let's see what else we got. I got all sorts of stuff going on back here. This is the key lime. I have to pull. Okay, this is the one I didn't get to yet. See, all of this needs to be pulled out. What happens is this is nitrogen. It's good for the soil, the nitrogen. But essentially what I need to do is clean that out and put it in the back. Where'd you go, buddy? Not sure what this is, but I'm pretty sure I planted something in here. How many of you out there do that? I have to label stuff. I keep forgetting. Ugh. Like, these are succulent type things. So the succulents type tend to create the nitrogen richness in the soil. Oh, I got hit by some mosquitoes last night too. So check out the backyard. That tree, that is a mulberry. It's a white mulberry. I was really hoping it was a purple mulberry, but I bought that before I bought this house, and it's the one, along with my fig tree and the lemon tree, that has still survived all this time. So what I did, all that dirt that I told you I had to move, I put on top of the compost pile. See this big old dirt pile? That is the compost pile. And all that dirt, as well as the dirt over there by the fence, all that dirt is covering up a lot of the compost, which is really cool because then I can turn it around and make it more rich. Right now, what we have here is the honeydew already sprouted. We'll see if we get some honeydews out of that. Now I have some mango that I'm going to put this mango in the earth, but I've got 2 mangoes over here. So I put a mango here, and then I have a pineapple here, and then I put 3 papaya. Now these are the golden papayas, which if you haven't had the golden papayas are really nice and sweet. Very, very good. Another pineapple here, and then another mango right next to it. So I kind of spaced them close together by the fence. They may or may not have to be moved eventually. I haven't decided. It's just kind of like I feel like they will do a lot better if I get them in the earth now instead of keeping them in the pots. Like I said, that one needs to go in the earth too. And here I have another pineapple. I know I put another pineapple over here, but I think it ended up under the dirt. Whoopsie. Yeah. So what's going on with you, Francesca, that you said that the doctors can't figure out? Because here's what I'm finding, and I just had this conversation behind the scenes with somebody else. A lot of what's coming up isn't physical. It's old emotions, because your body keeps score of your mind. So if you have old unresolved emotions that you're still harboring, like anger, resentment, any of that stuff, your body's going to reflect it. We can say, oh, it's what I'm eating. Well, the food could be a result, but it's also a distraction. So it's really a matter of really sitting with yourself and really being honest. Do you have deep-seated resentment and issues? Do you have old anger, old traumas? Yeah. So like it takes really confronting that and really being honest with yourself. I've had to do a whole lot of that over the course of my life. And it has not been pretty. Like, look at me. Look at this. I am so freaking tired because I didn't get any sleep. So I got bags under my eyes. I'm like, I didn't even put any makeup on. My eyebrows look like crap. I'm getting my eyebrows done. I swear to God. See, it's like, oh, I need a facial. I need a massage. I need a spa day. In fact, I kept on putting it off, but I was going to do a cold therapy. Has anybody done what's it called? The cryotherapy? Has anybody done that? That was one of the things on my list. Yeah, so Francesca, you have to confront that trauma, because if we don't heal that trauma, it just keeps showing up as triggers. And all that is really telling us that we need to lean into it. It's there for a reason. It's there because it doesn't want to be held on to any longer. We're holding things against ourselves, and we're physically manifesting issues that we don't need to be having. The body is telling. But on that note, I have to go walk Buddy. I'm so happy that I came on today, and I want you to know that no matter what's going on in your life, it's all worth it. It really is. It's all part of the journey. And that even when we're going through some serious crap, you got to celebrate that, because even the traumas that we've experienced, we weren't meant to live there. And a lot of us, we got stuck. We got to find our way back. We got to find our back to the present, Like, that's why they say it's called the present, because that's the gift of the now. When you give someone your time, that's a gift. That's present. Being present with them, not just, don't listen to respond, but listen to hear them, to understand them, stand under them, to connect with them on a heart level. Like, a lot of people don't realize what really is going on, this frustration that everybody's going through. Yeah, abuse, right there. The majority of us have all been disempowered. We've been told we're not good enough. We're supposed to prove ourselves worthy. From the moment we're born, we're told we're born with sin. That doesn't make sense to me. It never has. My connection to Source was a loving God, not an angry, wrathful, vengeful God. That's man-made. That's a lie. In my book, that doesn't exist. That's not true. If anything, the wrath that we feel is from within. We are the ones who condemn ourselves. We're the ones who punish ourselves. And often at the expense of our purity, our soul, which knows our heart and soul. To me, I believe the head is there to observe. The heart is the expression of the soul. And you just know. You just got to trust yourself and learn to know that it's all perfect. And you are perfect. And God said he made us in his perfect image. There's some truths in the lies and lies in the truths. So you can take information and parse out what doesn't apply, what doesn't make sense. You just lean into it and just ask your body, does this feel right? Does this align with me? Don't ask your head, because your head's what gets you in trouble every time, right? It's kind of noisy out here with these people doing their yards. I did my yard last week, actually. I was like, I'm going to mow the lawn. I'll get it done early, because if I do my yard early, then I can do something this weekend. I had other plans this weekend. I was going to help my dad do some work at the house. And this whole weekend I got sidetracked, especially with what's going on with this reflection upon my life and getting more fixated and focused on, I want to win the Yoga Warrior contest. So I need you, and I appreciate you. And each and every one of you that votes, I love you. Thank you. It costs nothing. Just keep on voting every day. Set a timer on your phone and your calendar. I've done that. I recommend it because it's actually easier. It's easier if you set the same time every day so that you get into the routine between now and the 29th of April, because my winning is in your hands. So I'm counting on you. Anyway, I love you all so much. I'm going to go walk this dog. I'm trying to be more present because it's the most important thing I could ever do. Big love.